Hello again. 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence is a United Nations initiative to globally call for the prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls. The campaign is done annually from 25 November, the International Day of No Violence Against Women, to 10 December, which is International Human Rights Day. The campaign focuses on raising awareness to the devastating effect that gender-based violence and femicide has on women and children, as well as the entire fabric of our society. It's day 14 today, and I see a tweet from a crime reporter. A Johannesburg man has stabbed his wife to death. I pause, I ponder, and I ask, how did the human race get here? Well, the problem is decades long. We're gaining strides through such initiatives in dealing with the problem, to put an end to it, but will it happen during my lifetime, I ask. Well, I was about 10 years old when I first experienced gender-based violence. As children, we would often be sent to spend the holidays with family members. Now, the year I turned 10, I was sent to spend my Christmas holidays with my uncle and my aunt, and they had no children then, so it was a chance for my aunt to mother me, even if it was just for a short time. I loved my aunt and uncle, but it just did not feel like home to me. Something was off. They'd only been married for a year or so, but it didn't look like a happy home. Well, not to me anyway. I recall hearing my uncle raise his voice to my aunt at night while I was asleep or while I was trying to fall asleep. And I remember that they were abusive words. She'd be trying to talk back, but she'd just be cut off with a barrage of ugly words. In the morning, they would get up and carry on as if nothing had happened. I was very young, but I knew this was not right because I'd never heard my father speak to my mother like that. No marriage is perfect, I know. Married couples do argue, and sometimes they do fight. My parents used to have their days too when they didn't get on. They would argue with each other, but to end the argument, my father would just grab his car keys, get into his car, and drive off for an hour or so, then come back when my mother had calmed down. He told us that he would never lay a finger on my mother because he watched his own father physically abuse his mother, and he vowed he would never do that to any woman. This, of course, defies the belief that abusive men are violent because they watched their fathers beat up their mothers. Yeah, that's the belief out there. That experience did the opposite for my father, but it clearly didn't for my uncle. Now, abuse is not just physical. It comes in many forms, and many women cannot see the signs. Some don't recognize abuse. They just think, well, that's how the man speaks. Well, he doesn't mean it. Well, my uncle and my aunt later had children, but the abuse did not stop. And to cope with that abuse, my aunt took to drinking alcohol with her equally abused friends. Now, I dated a guy who once said to me, "You're too woke and big-headed. You're the type of woman that needs to be beaten up." To which I replied, "Now don't forget I own the pots and pans in the kitchen. You lay a finger on me and you'll find one of my hot pots on your face." Now, there's no prize for guessing how that relationship ended. Very quickly. Here's another story. It's my little sister's story. She was young when she fell in love. The man asked her to move in with him in another town, and this meant she had to give up her lovely job and find another not so rewarding job in her new home. Things looked really great, and there was a future with this man. Now remember, our father raised us to be strong women who stood for no nonsense and my sister was one of the strongest women I knew. Then a great thing happened. She fell pregnant. But according to that man of hers, it wasn't so great. He told her it was not his child and kicked her out. I know my sister would not leave without a good fight, but the man used her vulnerable position, a pregnant woman, to act on a decision he had already made, and that was to kick her out and marry his other girlfriend. Now, you know what happens when you kick a strong woman? She falls and struggles to recover because you have broken her. You have turned her into a weak version of herself, the version she had spent her 25 years of existence protecting. Well, my sister moved back to her old town, got a job, and had the baby, but she never found her old self again. She was broken. Sadly, my sister turned to alcohol, just like my abused aunt. My next encounter with gender-based violence would be on the golf course. Now, those who know me well know that when I set myself to do something, I will put my heart and soul into it so I can do it to near perfection. At least that would be what's on my mind. And this is what I did with my golf. I took up golf when I moved to South Africa 20 years ago. I joined a golf club and I was the only black woman member at the club. Now, while this blog is not about racial prejudice, it has to be said that this was inevitable in a society like South Africa, that I'd be treated differently because of my race. The only way to overcome this was to become a better golfer than everybody else and be known as Joy the good golfer and not Joy the black lady on the course. So I became a loved member of the club, winning league matches and tournaments for my club. However, the story was very different out on the course when I played on different courses, which were not my own club course. I'd often be the only woman on the course, and this still happens today. Now, if you understand golf, you'd know that until 3 years ago, there were front tee boxes for women and the men teed off behind the women. And this was designed by men who understood that women's strength is not the same as men. And golf being a very fair game, this was correct because men hit the ball far longer than women. So to equalize the playing field, they gave women a head start. Now remember, I lift weights, I exercise, and I'm stronger than the average woman. So my shots would be longer than the men's shots when I tee off. So you must be wondering where I'm going with this, and you're waiting for the punchline. Well, it came across as banter, but I'd be told to have blood tests for my testosterone levels because I hit the ball so long. Oh, but you hit the ball longer than us because you have an advantage. Your tee box is way ahead of us. Well, the last time I checked, I only have a vagina, I would say to them. Well, it was not banter because it never ever stopped. And it still has not stopped. Now, in golf, the person who has the best score on a hole gets to tee off first on the next hole. But if I'm playing only with men and I'm the only woman amongst the men, I always go last because my tee box is ahead of theirs. So they tee off first and then I have to walk ahead and go and tee off on my tee box. Now, etiquette is crucial in golf. When someone is teeing off, the custom is to be still and quiet so you don't disturb the player. Now, here's my experience. I usually don't get the stillness and the silence while I tee off because the men start walking and talking as they come off their tee box behind me. And me being a straight talker, I usually kindly ask them to be still and be quiet, please, while I tee off. Now imagine playing an entire 18 holes begging people to shut up and still beat them at the game. Now, is that not disrespectful? That, ladies and gentlemen, is a form of abuse. Now, because most women don't hit the ball as far as I do, or they don't hit the ball that far, there's a belief amongst men that women are slow players. So they don't want to follow women on the course. Now, I've seen men skipping holes if they're behind women so they can go ahead the women and play the holes ahead and then go back to play the holes they skipped. Honestly, such arrogance. Now, is that not abusive? Disrespect is abusive, guys. Anyway, today things have changed in golf. We no longer have ladies and men's tee boxes. We have color-coded tee boxes. And a lady can play off any tee box she wants to play off. But that has now given me more problems, because when I play off the same tee box as the men, if I choose to play off their tee box or where they are playing, and then I outdrive some of them, it won't be a good day on the golf course for me. And lastly, let me talk about my gym encounter over my long years of lifting weights. Okay, so now I'm working quietly in the gym, minding my own business with my headphones in my ears, as I usually do. I feel a nudge on my shoulder, and there's this guy looking at me with fascination. "I don't often see women training in the men's section of the gym," he says. "Oh, and which section is this?" I asked. "The weights area," he says. Okay, now what is that, guys? Because gyms have been around for decades, and we even have women professional bodybuilders since time immemorial. Anyway, I'm in the gym on another day, and a man approaches me and says, "Careful, you'll start looking like Serena Williams." I'm like, how did you know that's who I actually want to look like? She's my idol in fitness. I want to look like her. Okay, guys, that's a true story. I actually adore Serena Williams' body. I love her body. I love all those muscles. Anyway, on a different gym visit. Now, this one really, really annoyed me. Along comes another man, and me minding my own business, working hard as usual. "How does your husband handle a woman with so much muscle?" Okay, I chose to let that one go to avoid violence. So the theme for the 16 Days of Activism campaign for 2022 is socioeconomic rights and empowerment to build women's resilience against gender-based violence and femicide. And here's my message to women. Put on your gym clothes, come to the gym, and come to the weights section with me and build some muscle and gain your confidence. Change your lifestyle and work on a healthy, fitter you. If you feel great in your body and you are confident, then you have built resilience against gender-based violence. You have the power to stand up for yourself and walk away from abusive and dangerous situations. Till the next episode, bye-bye. Bye.